Coach, hey, thanks for joining me today on this Simple Coach to Coach interview. It has been a while, my friend, and I do appreciate you taking the time to meet with little old me. I do appreciate the soccer conversation today since it's been sheer chaos in the Simple Coach headquarters today, including paint. I don't know if you can see the paint and all sorts of like.
Hey,
Rough day.
I'm just moving into a house that I bought myself, so I understand all that and have paint on all my clothes. So I
Yeah.
appreciate you finding time to have me on.
All right, so I have to ask, where are you living in Wilmington proper, or are you outside?
Yeah, I've been renting since I got here and finally bought a house.
Yeah.
Just excited about where things are headed, and I like the town, and I'm a simple man with simple pleasures. So it's nice to
Yeah.
be, 4 or 5 minutes away from campus and still able to do things outside too.
All right, so I have to ask you, how close to the Arboretum are you? Is that your backyard?
So when I was renting, I could walk there. Now it's a little bit of a drive, but
okay.
it's still nice to get there, park the car, and take a walk after a stressful day.
Yeah.
So
for those of you, and maybe I'll post it, that I didn't get a chance to walk through it, which was one of my big regrets, was the Wilmington, and you can see it on the Fields of Dreams I did a few years back, has an Arboretum nature trail thing. I don't even know how big it is, but it wraps sort of around the back end of camp, or where the football stadium and the gymnasium is, and then where the health center is. It's all right there. Fantastic, fantastic.
It combines with the cross country course, and from what I've heard, opposing schools do not love running it because you got to go through a little creek and get your shoes a little muddy and all that. So
drama.
It's our little home field advantage with our slice of outdoor beauty. So
yeah, that's awesome. All right, Coach, as I always do, let's begin. Without me prompting, how do you think your season went?
Twofold question, because when I just stand back and look at it, and I've had 3 very different seasons here at Wilmington. I took the job in 22, had a senior heavy class, tried to just steer the boat, not trying to reinvent the wheel, won 12 games, made an OAC final, and then all of them graduated at one time. So then 23, we go from a 12-win season to a 4-win season. I don't even think we were that bad of a soccer team or doing things wrong. It's just our guys, and I had the help with that as well. It's one thing to say you want to be the man, and it's another thing to actually have to do it in big boy OAC games. And we had a brutal non-conference road schedule, but those experiences, I think, shaped our guys very well, and they didn't run from it. They were excited about Wilmington, our direction, and we retained basically our whole entire class, added some new faces this year, and got back to an 11-win season, 10 games unbeaten to start the year, and it was a lot of fun. Just at the end, I wish we had some outside stuff going on that was out of our control, and I just wish we could have steered that ship a little bit more calmer. We had things like the track getting redone around our stadium, so we couldn't practice on it, and got to have the home game moved, and all these things. And it's not an excuse. I just wish we would have been able to deal with it better. But we got back to an OAC tournament. We returned a lot of our guys again. So I'm excited to get back to double-digit wins, making the tournament, and trying to improve on it.
Can I ask you the dumb question of the day? Like, in hindsight, your year one, where you were like, just don't mess with anything because you had all the senior. I remember that team. That was a very, very good team. And then your second year was the coaching that much more difficult as well? Now that you had this team that basically, I don't want to say didn't have any leadership, they all do, but basically your senior leadership just, walked down the aisle and collected their diploma.
Right. I do think it was more that I had to do, or at least in a different way. Because I mean, year one was just so much of having those guys buy into me, and I had to earn their trust, and they had to earn mine, and that was a major piece of it. And then when you have to have 8 of 11 new starters, it's, most of those guys were still on the roster, and we were really happy with our freshman recruiting class in that year. But it just also came at a time where so many teams in our conference had COVID fifth-year seniors, and we had 0 fifth-year seniors and 1 true senior. So it was just a bad time to be very young. And it just created a lot of learning opportunities for me and my coaching staff of, things that we could, I don't even say that we could have done better, but things that we just have to do for the future to get us into a better place. And I like the things that we did to get to this season.
Yeah, and you still walked into the gauntlet of the OAC, which was not easy. How, just for folks watching, can you just talk a little bit? Because I'm all hyped on the Midwest conferences, because I think there's there's a lot of great soccer that gets played out there that I don't think garners enough attention. But can you just talk about how tough it was this year in the OAC?
Yeah, I mean, parity was evident. I mean, it seemed like, realistically, in the top 8, anyone could kind of beat anyone, and even, the bottom guys put up a lot stronger fights that maybe the scoreline didn't always represent. I mean, Mount Union won the regular season, and Baldwin Wallace, who didn't make the tournament, beat them for their 1 loss in the conference. And it was just very much depending on the day, who showed up, who's healthy, who's just firing in all cylinders. It was very competitive. And then, just the Midwest in general, those teams that you're probably scheduling non-conference based on location and accessibility to travel, those teams were impressive. So between, OAC, NCAC sending, I think it was 6 teams to the tournament, and usually around 5-6 teams on average per year. And then the Heartland providing their competition of their own. Obviously, the UAA extends a little bit to us with Case and some other regional teams, but it's very nice to get very good games within a 3-hour bus ride every single time. So, I think a big thing is just how you start and how you get momentum. And, we won our, I think, first 2 or 3 conference games. Then Mount Union's a very tough place to play, and it's even tougher when your head coach's younger brother has his wedding the day of the game, and I don't even get to be there. So it was it was an experience watching the game on my phone, and my best man speech and the kickoff were the exact same time. But I was just very proud of the obstacles that were in our way and how our guys dealt with it. It didn't turn into qualifying for a national tournament, which our goal is with our program. But in this kind of conference, it's that much more rewarding if you could make it because of the teams that you have to go through.
Is there, who's to say the best team you played? This is dartboard material, by the way, Coach. I'm just telling you.
No, absolutely. If you look at our score lines, Ohio Northern regular season, they were very, very good against us. And we that was the game that had to get moved because of our track, and we played at Wright State, a Division I facility, and we score the first goal, and things are going well, and then they score a nice goal, 2 set pieces, and then the wheels kind of could fall off when you're facing against a very experienced team like that. They were very talented. Otterbein got really hot at the end of the season to win the conference tournament and make the national tournament. They were very strong. Mount Union, great season, great team, difficult to play. But I think if you were a neutral and you could just watch our game against John Carroll and just it's probably the most exciting 90 minutes of soccer with some very high quality that you could see. And we lost 4-3, so I'm not even trying to say, yeah, this is an amazing win for our team. But that was just, I think, two high quality, high flying teams going after it. And I'm a little bit over it now, so I could say like it was just very fun to be a part of, a night game and that kind of environment against that kind of opponent. So we faced some good ones.
Yeah. Would you categorize this season still as like a rebuilding year? Not a rebuilding, maybe like you just need your young guys needed this year of competition to prime themselves for next year.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you're on the outside looking in, I think that would be a fair assessment to say. We still had four seniors like contribute significant minutes to the team, but we just have such a massive sophomore class. And then when we add a few very talented freshmen, including the OAC Freshman of the Year, we're just excited for things to come, and we're excited that they had to go through some of the experiences they did this year to better prepare them for what's going to be happening in the future. So, I mean, I expect to win every season. I think we every year I've been here, I think we have the soccer players where we can do it. Even in the season that didn't go our way, I was still confident that we could have done things with that team. So I'd never want to rebuild. It's just getting older helps. And there's no doubt about it. So we're excited for what's to come. And maybe it was a year too early for our guys. But next year should be a fun one.
I don't think there have been super young teams that have won. I'll just say even conference tournament. I think that's really, really hard because I just think the physical part of it there is very different when they play a senior heavy team, 21, 22-year-olds versus 17, 18-year-olds.
I think difference. Too, just like, I come from a Division II playing background, and that's where I started my coaching. And at the Division II level, at least how it used to be, you'd have 2 non-conference games, and then you'd play everybody in your conference home and away. So you'd have 16 conference games, 18 conference games. And at Division III, like when you only get one shot at everyone per year, like those 90 minutes are so critical that, I mean, we think we talked about our coaching meeting. I don't think a 5 or a 6 seed has ever won the conference tournament. So just making sure your regular season counts and maybe that 1 or 2, the bye isn't the most essential thing, but just being able to play home games. I think that gives you a major advantage that if you've had guys who have been in the situations a little bit more based on their age, they're just, they get that a little bit more. And so it's not saying it can't be done. It's just a little advantage when you've had to go through the gauntlet a bit.
I think the experience of it, and I've had this conversation with a number of coaches where, there's real value, not so much in the losing or the winning, but just in the overall experience. What does it take to get on a bus, to drive 3 hours, and then you're in somebody else's house, and what does that mean, and how does that feel, and just the emotional, sensory stuff that goes on. If you're not used to it, it can overwhelm you, and it impacts what you do on the field. And I think you need to get older to be like, to move beyond that, because it's so new, right?
And it's just establishing a culture of winning. So when you're not playing well, you could figure out how to do it. Or I mean, people could say they're as confident as they can be, but when a situation goes tough and you're going against a team that their senior class has lost 10 games in their four-year careers, like those guys just learn how to grind it out a little bit more.
Very true.
So it's experience, and it's just the overall feeling of winning so much. that's what we hope to get to.
Yeah, that's very true. Like those teams, like, hey, everybody wants to play pretty, but ultimately it's about goals and it's about winning. And if you're not having the day that you expect to, the good teams and the folks who've been through it, they're like, whatever we got to do to win, we're going to win, and they're able to execute on that. Whereas I'm not sure other, like I said, a young player might be like, we're not playing well. Oh my God, what are we going to do? Whereas an older guy is just going to be like, no, I don't care what we're going to do or how we're going to play. We're just going to win this game. And I think that matters. Like that psychological edge, I think matters tremendously, especially as you start getting into the second part of the season where legs start to get heavy and
Right.
you know you got the burden of academics and all of that stuff. I think that's a huge edge. Um, like, do you how are you from a, I'll just say from a schedule standpoint, have you been adjusting it based every year? Or are you trying to, like your first year that your I mean, not to say that your schedule this year was easy, but your first year that was pretty brutal that you went through. And then so I'm just curious, like, are you just adjusting it? Or are you still trying to look for what are the best games I can get? Especially
Yeah,
in
I
particular
mean,
the off season, right? As we talked about, just the difficulty of the OAC.
right. And I mean, like the first year, it made it a little bit easier for scheduling because the schedule was built and it was a lot of the first year of 2-year agreements and all
Right.
that. And, we got to play some of those big games at home, which was nice. So kind of after year 2, it's about, finding a little bit more of a balance. And some of it's just budgetary, like travel
Yeah.
requirements. But like, last year was really great opportunity to go down to center and play in their tournament because they have a beautiful facility where,
Awesome.
we get to play
Awesome.
Spalding first, who qualified for a national tournament and had a really good game against them. And then, played a very defensively strong, tough center team where we had a 1-0 lead, give up a penalty kick and still are able to battle and have a nice tie. So, I mean, that was a good experience at a beautiful place, but still a tough place to play that I think propelled some momentum for our guys. And, playing some teams early in the season like Rose Holman, who's a usual national tournament team, like it's still some good experiences, but we did find some balance just based on distance away from us. And, after a 4-win season too, like we had to like, people had to look at us too and be like, oh, is this going to help the strength of schedule, even though that changed. And even though we were confident we'd get back to it, like we gotta re-earn our right to play in those big time games. So maybe it was what it was. It definitely wasn't as tough this season of a non-conference schedule as it was in 23, 2022, but it's about earning the right to play those games, which I think we'll be able to do a little bit more in this fall of 25 based on our schedule, and then continue to build off that in 26.
Yeah, I always forget that. Like, takes two to tango, right? Like, you have a 4-win season, and knowing how things are, does playing Wilmington, help me or hurt me? Or,
right.
Yeah, what's the risk reward here? If I beat you, what do I get versus if I lose, like what am I penalized? Especially in the whole MPI world. I'm sure that's part of the equation. All right. What are some of the pieces that you're thinking about in terms of building for this fall? Like, if you're going to hone in on your 11-6-3 season and what you want to accomplish in 2025, I have to look at the calendar because I can't still believe I'm saying 2025. Like, Is your emphasis, your focus on, hey, we got to do better in attack, or we got to do better defensively? Is there something that sort of you're thinking in your head, this is going to position us for the best season that we could have?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the statistics, it's going to be no surprise. I mean, we were the fourth highest scoring offense in Division III out of 400 teams or whatever it was, and we just conceded too many goals.
Yeah.
And it's not like we were playing this, I don't know, 2-1-7 formation where we're just bombing people forward. It just that's how it ended up. And I mean, we had like a relatively inexperienced back line. We had two freshman goalkeepers just based on how our roster was, who were the ones eligible for selection. So I mean, those experiences just helped. And kind of when we hit our bump at the end of the conference season, it was we just made too many unexperienced decisions out of the back, or giving up set pieces when we didn't have to, and conceding on big throws or opportunities, and those goals change games. I mean, I rewatched Ohio Northern. It's a 1-1 game, and we're game plan's going fine, and then we give up a throw in deep when we could have probably just let it run out for our own goal kick, but we panic a little bit, and then they're a little bit more active on a throw in, score a goal. Now we're down 2-1. In our Otterbein quarterfinal game, it's 2-1 coming out of half, and we had a little bit of momentum, and we have two great free kick opportunities to tie it. Or I mean, best case scenario, we score them both, go ahead, and then we give up a set piece goal when the game was very much still in the balance. So it's just organizing those details a bit more. Making sure our returning guys, this is the first time Wilmington's had a strength and conditioning coach full time. So we've been really enjoying having access to that. So it's some of those, strength and functional things, but just also rewatching clips, putting them in game situations during spring training so that when it gets to the fall, they're a little bit more comfortable in their abilities to see that ball out for a goal kick, or make a cleaner decision when we're playing forward through the lines. And then just because our forward guys scored all these goals, like some of the stuff that they have to clean up in possession, like it's just reminding them that, hey, it's awesome that we had a freshman score 22 goals, a junior score 17 goals, and we had assists from these sophomore guys and all that. But there's still so much more work that we have to be done, because we can't be content with a 4-5 conference season and losing a first round of the playoff game. So, I mean, there's things we identify that we have to know. I think we're in a good recruiting spot where it's, hey, we showed how quickly we could rebound from an off season and have a core group of juniors that are going to be great leaders for 2 years. And we still need people to come in and make impacts. So I think recruiting is going very well for us in that regard. And it's just combining everything together. But the cool thing is we are going to Spain in August. So we have that little extended preseason with our returning guys and having a good bonding experience. And hopefully we'll hit the ground running with getting those little extra week of training, if you will.
Are you doing that right before?
Yeah, I think August 2nd to the 10th we're going, and then we'll probably move in like the 15th or whatever it is. So we're happy with how that worked out.
So when are you going to send me details about our trip to Spain?
Oh, that's
I got to get it on the calendar, so just send me the stuff.
Once Wilmington can make a national tournament, that's my inspiration, getting us to Spain to do that. So we'll book that once that day comes.
Where in Spain are you? Where are you in Spain? Are you going?
We're doing Madrid for 4 days, Valencia for 4 days. So
nice.
It should be nice. Our girls program's going as well, so they'll be in Madrid when we're in Valencia, and then vice versa. But we have a day where we'll meet up. So we're excited for the overall athletic department to get to experience that.
Yeah, I'm excited to go already. So I don't know. Like I said, I'm excited. Oh, you'll have a blast. You'll have a blast. I always think that that's a big deal. The amount of teams that I've watched that get the chance to go overseas, and then the impact that 5, 7, 8 days of extra training just before their fall preseason is dramatic. Like there's coming into camp, or relatively fit, having some games, new, all that stuff. I think has a material impact, and I think if I, from a coaching perspective, if I was in your shoes, every single one of my trips would be the same way. I wouldn't go in spring break; it would be during the summer.
Yeah, I mean, we like how it works out. I mean, the negative is incoming freshmen can't go. I mean, they have this kind of period where they got to get up to speed right when they get to campus, and everyone's kind of had a head start, but nothing we could do about it. We just got to get them ready. And then, I mean, the worry then is, hey, we start a little bit early, we'll burn out coming to play at the end of the season, and that's just our job as coaches to monitor that, and I think just break up the repetition of weeks of practice so they feel like they're doing something different and not the same old thing all the time, but still working to the same goal. And I mean, I'm personally not thrilled that John Carroll's leaving the conference, but a positive is we get a bye and the end of the season that kind of gives us some extra rest that we wouldn't have otherwise. So I guess it's good the first time that we're doing this Spain trip and all that. Bye. So
they're they're running away. They're afraid of Mount Union. I told Coach Dayon that, like, you're just afraid that everyone's getting really good. And which he didn't agree publicly, but he agreed with me. Not fair, of course. No,
I will
kidding.
not be able to confirm or deny that as well. I like both coaches, but I mean, I'm a Cleveland guy, so I've kind of grown up around that area. I mean, I think I lived 15 minutes away from John Carroll's campus when I grew up, so I know the history of like football there, and I would love to see a postseason football game between those teams in a national stage, just because of all that talk and joking on social media about
we don't like each other.
That. Like, it would be awesome to see that.
Yeah.
And let's say I'd love Wilmington to be there and beat them all too for football. But it would be fun.
It is. It's kind of a bummer, right? Like, I do think it opens up, right? Like this field of possibility, because John Carroll has been so, it's almost like year in and year out. It always struck me that to one degree or another, you have to go through John Carroll to get to, you want to win the conference. You want to win the conference tournament. Like it goes through more times than not. It goes through Cleveland. And I'm not to dismiss going through Ada, Ohio, or through Columbus or wherever. I just think John Carroll has such the impact that you get through them to win it. It just, they're that, and it drives me nuts. Right. Don't get me wrong. Like, I hate that. So good on the NCAC.
I was kind of referencing that earlier, but I think it was before I got to Wilmington, but I think it was their COVID seniors lost like an insane low amount of games. And like, when you just have those experiences of winning, and you walk off a bus and just have an expectation and a quiet confidence about it, like, that's what we want to strive for. It's just having that recognition about it. And then like maybe doubt creeps into opponents' minds when they might not say it outright, but and that's what we wanted to try and do this year, at least with goals scored. I mean, we scored in, I joke because we scored in every game I coached this year, because Mount Union away was, and I mean, they played fantastic. Like I was so proud of our guys. But we proved that we will score like in all these games, and now it's just completing and doing every aspect of the game is the next evolution of that. So
that quiet confidence that they have, John Carroll has, is really unnerving. I think, and credit to them. But you're right. When they get off the bus to play a game, they know they're going to win, right? Like they almost have that instilled in them. Whereas if you're going there, or they're coming to your place and you see them, right? Like there's a seed of doubt, right? Like,
Right.
oh my,
And I mean,
you know what I mean?
yeah, that was a real thing. And that's why this year was so fun because like in still respect to them, I mean, like Capital with Cory in his first year, like going there first round of the playoffs and getting a win is very impressive. And they had some tight games with some other teams as well. Like it just, our conference is, I think, in a very good place, and it's a very great conference to come to compete, to play in big time soccer games that are going to mean something. And I think everyone's starting to develop their own thing, if you will. Just like I mean, our thing is a scoring thing, and I think Mount Union just like defensively, you know how strong they were, and Ohio Northern finds their ways. Otterbein, Capital, like it was just a very fun year with how crazy games were, and like up until the last weekend, things were still up in the air of what could have happened. So it's a great conference to be a part of.
Yeah, and look, and right, and both Muskingum and Heidelberg, two young coaches that are taking over. I mean, could make it only harder. You know what I mean? Like it's gonna only make it tougher. Like, hey, no throwaway games, right? Like literally, you cannot afford to sit back and just sort of expect to win. So.
Yeah, I mean, and Josh at Muskingum, like me and him worked together at our previous school, and I know he's going to do a very good job there. And then Mike at Heidelberg, like he comes from Mount Union, where he just experienced like what it takes to win an OAC regular season and getting positions in back-to-back years where like people are screaming from the rooftops that you guys, like, I don't know what language I want to use now, but could have been in the national tournament, and it just didn't fall their way. So I think there's value in that, and knowing what the OAC is all about, knowing the type of players and the type of mentality. And that's why, like, I mean, we've been middle of the table. Like we can't take any days off coaching, because even though we're striving to the top, we know we're going to get pushed to be even better. And I mean, that's Baldwin Wallace and Marietta are teams that on their day, they could beat absolutely anyone as well. Like the blue turf is not a fun place to play. It is what it is. And Joe loves that. And
I know.
It is not a fun place to play. So I mean, those like, who knows what's going to happen next year with people graduating, people getting older, recruiting coming in, like any your guess is as good as mine. So we're just going to take it day by day to put our guys in the best position to be successful when that day comes.
So tell me about recruiting. What's your class look like? Are you trying to balance out these big, I guess it's going to be a rising junior class that's large for you? Like, are you trying to balance it out so that you don't have such an impact, graduation doesn't impact you as much, where you'll have 10 or whatever the numbers are? Does that make sense?
I'd say that's accurate. And I mean, in recruiting, like it helps for me that I do coach in the club game, and I get to go at all these places, see these players, work with juniors and seniors at the club I'm at, and have relationships with those guys to tell them what college soccer is going to be all about, and get extra eyes on them. And I mean, people cannot say that I'm a biased club coach, because I think 5 of my guys are going to Ohio Northern next year, and it just is what it is. I've just enjoying, my club team's had a lot of success. So I've been able to go to Arizona, Texas this year with the club team to watch, outside of my region teams and games. And then we get to go to Orlando for nationals, which is exciting. So I've been able to go a lot of places for recruiting, but we still have a Scandinavian pipeline that's been built for 30 years that I have only intentions of strengthening, just because I've very much enjoyed coaching those guys and have these positive recruiting relationships with people over there who are working with them. And I think it gives a great cultural balance to what we do at Wilmington. And I think we're going to continue running with that until proven otherwise. So.
Yeah. Hey, Scandinavian players, not too shabby. Look at was it North Park, and yeah, like
they do it well.
They do it well too. Like the whole school is oriented around. Anyhow, all right, last question for you, and then I'm just opening it up. I started asking this just because I copied somebody else. So it's not original, so I copied somebody else who I loved the question. In the world of soccer, what is it that we are not talking about? And it could be college, it could be professional, doesn't matter. I leave the floor to you.
Ooh, that's a good question.
That's the same reaction I get from everyone, by the way. Like, what? Okay.
I think my initial reaction, and maybe because we were just talking about club a little bit too, is I think you hear a lot of talk about Division I primarily, but still other levels about wanting to extend the college season into the spring and having it kind of a lot less games at one period of time and all that kind of things. And I mean, I think my thing is like, I'm against that personally. I just think why I got into college coaching is like you have your impact on your players year round, but like, you know, as a Division III college coach, like I have to do things in the off season, like coach club and have these experiences. One, to be able to buy a house and keep my girlfriend happy and all those types of things. But I think in college, like we could still prepare guys for whatever those next levels are. And I mean, Division I, obviously it's, you got guys getting drafted on all these. So I know it's different things, but it's still college athletics. And that's, you know, why I got into this. It's, you know, having that off season of very much focusing on the development piece, but still as a coaching staff, like I could have my assistants coach clubs, so they're able to continue doing what they're doing here, or have outside work and have our guys work in the off season and as well, or be able to have a bit more time to study abroad or just go and do some other things. So I think that's where my head goes, is like I just hear all these, hey, this is why we should extend this season to fall and spring and all these things, and I don't think anyone's really talking about like how it would affect someone like my life or something of that nature. So I hope that answers your question. It was just kind of the first thing that popped into my mind. So
I'm 100% with you. I've been asking a lot at all levels, like club soccer and club youth soccer and professional game and all this stuff. And maybe it's just because of my age and all the stuff that everybody talks about. I started asking myself, I come back to this one question where it's like, what's the point, right? Like, what is the point that we're doing all these things for? And I always go to the college game because of how close I am with it, and I'm always surprised. Like, are we trying to make professionals out of college players? It doesn't work that way in professional soccer. Like, there's plenty of places to get players from other than college soccer. Overseas, different clubs, different level, all that stuff. So what's the point of extending the seasons and doing all this stuff? I get the conversation about wanting to make the season a little bit longer to accommodate health and all that kind of safety and all that kind of stuff. But I'm with you. I have no patience for hey, let's make the soccer a fall, spring season, you know, one leg and then the other leg. It just doesn't make sense to me. Again, because I just go to what's the point? What
Right.
is the point for college soccer to do that so that we have these soccer players experience, or is it to get them educated and hopefully become productive members of society?
Right. And I mean, believe me, I still want 3 play days for Division III soccer in the
Yeah,
spring.
yeah,
So like,
yeah.
I 100% want that. And I know like people like, I mean, like take example an hour away from us, like Ohio State was the
Yeah.
number 1 team in Division I soccer at the end of the regular season, and they might be doing things obviously for different reasons and might have some different outlets and opportunities for their guys.
Yeah.
But I just know like if it wants to be affected, all divisions, everyone, like it's just I have my opinions and thoughts on it that I'm not hearing too much, and I know my voice is just one college coach in the big grand scheme of however many 800 college, and that's just on the men's side. So what, 1,500 or whatever it is. But if you're gonna give me my pardon the interruption victory speech to talk about a topic, I guess that's the first one that popped into my mind. So
I'd actually go and I would, like if we're going to pull this pie in the sky stuff, you should just make one, like not have 3 divisions, like, you know what I mean? Like it's just one big, large group of players. You could play anybody division, what would be a small school. You could play a big school. It doesn't matter. And the idea is that you're just going to let your quality try to rise all the way until, certain level. I'm sure we could figure something out. Maybe it's like a little bit, I hate this word now, promotion and relegation, but something along, they might as well do something like that. Like that to me is a little bit more productive than altering.
Well, I think also, with just having the fall season and having your off season in the spring, I think like for example, like the USL2 level, I think's gotten insanely better, and like you'll see a lot of Division III kids playing at that level and having their impact. So I do think there is still a balance, because I mean, once you get into the just one league, then it's like, all right,
that's what I mean.
Mottos and scholarships.
That's what I mean, right? Like,
right.
If you're gonna go, to me, again, just the insanity of, hey, let's have them play from August until June in college, like that to me is a little insane. Again, you're not like, I would have gone to college regardless whether it was soccer or not. Maybe not, but like just because that's what you have to go. You want to go get educated, right? Like I think that's the primary thing, and I think we forget that. And again, you get to talk about youth soccer. I'm like, what? Are we trying to be all national team players? Like I think that's unrealistic. Again, what's the point? And I don't think we have a good answer for that. I just don't think we have a good answer for it.
We'll get there one day.
Yeah. Well, once we solved it all today. I mean, I don't know if you realize that, but we solved all the problems. So, all right, Coach, this was fantastic as always. Really do appreciate it. As I've mentioned to you, you are always welcome. You don't have to wait for a knock on the door from me. You are always welcome to join. Feel free to reach out. I will definitely be reaching out to you just when you get back from Spain and you're jet lagged, and just before you kick off the season, the preseason. I would definitely like to get you on for a few minutes to just talk about sort of where you're at and how the trip went and how much food you ate and all that kind of stuff.
Sounds good. And hopefully at the end of this fall, we could book that 2-guy trip to Spain to celebrate. So
that would be awesome. All right, Coach. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right.